Just listen to him fan the air. Here goes. He opens up a business when the clock strikes 9. He likes to get them early when they're feeling fine. Everybody gets a little rise and shine with a great big bundle of joy. He pops the boogie woogie rag, the Chattanooga shoe shine boy. The Chattanooga shoe shine boy.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Today's sports broadcast is made possible by O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC. Proud to sponsor another season of Lake County High School sports broadcasts on WRLR 98.3 FM, helping home buyers, sellers, and others with real estate transactions. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC can be reached at 847-675-4790.
WRLR sports programming is made possible in part through the support of Jersey Mike's in Round Lake Beach. Jersey Mike serves authentic Northeastern-style sub sandwiches that are fresh sliced and fresh grilled. Their menu offers items for students and teachers like the Giant Sub. Complete menu details available now at jerseymikes.com. If your sports team or organization is looking to raise funds, Jersey Mike's in Round Lake Beach can tell you how. They're located at 536 East Rollins Road, and their number is 224-757-5391.
Having trouble moving the ball to finish your divorce or paternity matter? Child support or maintenance payments causing trouble with your salary cap? Sue Kamen is an experienced family law attorney who can coach you through mediation or fire a pass into the end zone at trial. To make an appointment in Antioch, Huntley, or Lake Zurich with Susan E. Kamen and Associates, their number is 847-847-7354.
WRLR is community radio.
I feel much more informed with what's happening today.
When we say community, we really mean it.
It's not like corporate, and it's just a good station, you know?
We don't belong to some large corporation that makes a profit from this station.
Because I like the diversity.
And listeners won't be forced to listen to large blocks of advertising. Operations at community radio stations are made possible through grants and underwriting from companies within this area of operation, and donations, funds, and equipment, services, and time from area residents who volunteer their time to get involved.
It's as if it's my next door neighbor talking to me, only he's on the radio instead of next door to me.
Real people just like you.
I like them. They tell it like it is.
Local focus, local news, local music, of the local people, and by the local people.
It's different than the rest of the stuff I hear.
I love the show. I listen every day.
WRLR.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Hello, everyone. It's Thursday, January 30th, 2020. You're listening to Lake County Sports Talk, also known as the John and Joe Show. Rolling on here on a Thursday, and just as I said that, Joe and Norm, we heard the train rolling through our WRLR studios here in Round Lake Beach. Our producer, Norm Marion, the Sultan of Sound there.
Hot.
Getting things started there with a nice little rock lick, little guitar lick there to kind of get things right. I like that lick. Name that tune there for us, Norm.
That was Hot, The Cure. From Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me.
Great album, yeah. Saw them live back in the late '80s sometime. But that's a
it. But that song just rips, right?
Yeah, that does kind of that is an awesome, like I said, that kind of lead guitar lick on that one. Awesome stuff. So Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, The Cure, I believe, just went in last year. So. Again, join next to me, as always, is Daily Herald prep columnist and the Joe portion of the John and Joe Show, and should I say Channel 7 morning show.
Every now and then.
Opinionist, right? Is an opinionist? Is that the...
Yeah, they just call me Daily Herald guest, our guest from the Daily Herald. We have a partnership, the Daily Herald, with ABC Channel 7, and every now and then they'll have me on to talk about whatever, and... Yeah, I got a surprise phone call Sunday night after the tragic news with Kobe Bryant. They asked me if I could be on the next morning, so I went on and gave my 2 minutes worth of Kobe talk.
Yeah, good stuff with Joe in the morning if you happen to DVR it.
Thank you.
In the morning. And yeah, all of us here, we're going to talk in a couple minutes here with Zion Benton coach, Bobby Worthington. But, one point about the Kobe Bryant thing is that's one of those stories where when it happens, I literally could not believe it, right? I mean, that was one of those. I happened to be watching. I was home, and I was flipping around watching the Michigan State basketball game. They were playing somebody on Sunday. And the breaking news banner comes on, and you say Kobe Bryant dies in a helicopter crash, and you're just kind of – and even now, we're several days away from it. And it's still so dominating our culture and news and sports.
Yeah, that's one of those where you remember where you were when you heard the news. And I think, for the younger generation, the high school kids today, who so many of them, we talk to high school kids obviously every day pretty much. Kobe Bryant was their Michael. I mean, there are a lot of Kobe Bryant fans, guys in high school, college, certainly even the pro game now, who, emulate and model their game after Kobe Bryant. So, and like for a lot of those kids, this might be their first, 10, 20 years from now, they'll say, I remember where I was when you heard that news about Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, when you think of one for our generation, I remember Magic Johnson, when he first announced that he had the AIDS virus. Yep. We thought that was a death sentence at that time.
Right.
Was not. He's gone on, obviously, and was an executive with the Lakers and has gone on to live a healthy life. But, man, that was a stunner. And one of those stories that, again, although certainly Kobe Bryant is a Los Angeles guy from Philadelphia, not much of an association with Chicago or certainly not Lake County. Again, one of those stories that is a sports story, but also is a news story, is of cultural significance, and a figurehead that is as significant. Again, you're reading a lot about the next couple of days, how significant of a human being this guy was, and what a great father he was, the things he was doing philanthropically, I think, in Southern California, even post-retirement.
Yeah, and there was, he had a complicated life, so to speak, with, let's... I know there are a lot of people, we don't want to get into this too much, but, as great as he was on and off the court, there was the sexual assault. He was charged for that, 2003, I think it was now. So there's still people who are like, even though that was settled on a court and so forth. And again, we don't want to talk about this, more than another 10 seconds here. But so he had a complicated life, but certainly it's a stunner. And you figured, 41 years old, he was going to do a lot of great things in the next 40 years of his life. So, unfortunately, we'll never see that come to fruition.
Joe, everyone is human. We're all human.
We're all flawed.
Mistakes.
Yep.
He made his mistake, and I think the rest of his life basically was redemption. And he was doing a heck of a job.
Yeah, he was certainly trying. Certainly trying. So. And again, we're all flawed, certainly some more than others. But in any event, we had, by the way, had a story, I don't know if many people caught it in the Daily Herald this week about the Kobe influence. I talked to Kobe Creasy, junior point guard at Antioch High School. Is actually named after Kobe Bryant, spells it the same way, Kobe. Had a good conversation with him. And John Radke, our high school sports editor, kind of pieced that whole story together. We talked to a few other people just about the impact of Kobe Bryant. But speaking of Michigan State, when you mentioned Magic, that's we have a tie-in today because our guest that we'll be hearing from shortly here is none other than Bobby Worthington, the head basketball coach at Zion Benton, who played at Michigan State under Judd Heathcote. So we're going to have Bobby on. John and I were both at the game last night at Libertyville. Zion Benton had won 7 in a row, playing as well as anybody in Lake County. And Libertyville stunned them. I guess you could call it an upset. Libertyville just coming off a loss to Lake Forest. And, it's funny. John and I are normal. We're in the first quarter, and Libertyville is shooting lights out and playing up-tempo and keeping up with Zion Benton. And John and I are both like, I don't think Libertyville can sustain this pace and keep up with Zion Benton. And, of course, we were wrong because not only did they do that, they won the basketball game.
Joe, I wasn't there last night. I know Rusty was and stuff. Was there foul trouble or something in that aspect, or were they a little bit loose with the ball as they were bringing it up the court? Because that's the only way I could see them really losing a lot of their games.
I just think Libertyville played a really good basketball game. And Brian Zarkowski, I even asked him afterward, is that the best you've played all season? And he said, we were playing like this early in the year. I think they got off to a 5-1 start or something. They were playing fantastic basketball. And our guest here, Bob Worthington, I know he knows how tough and well coached Libertyville is. He wasn't surprised by their effort. Coach, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing, guys?
Good. Thanks for joining us here, Joe Aguilar, along with John Kern, our producer of sound here, Norm Mary. And thanks again for joining us, Coach. And really congrats on the great basketball you guys have been playing. Even last night, you were down, 20 with 6 minutes to go. That's normally ball game over. And sure enough, you guys got it within 2 and then lost at the end there. But you must be really pleased with the way you guys have been playing, certainly of late.
Yeah, Coach, John, I am pleased with the way we're playing. I mean, offensively, we've had a great spark, and that's been kind of our go-to. But now defensively, we're stepping it up a lot. And the kids are playing really, really well right now, which is good.
One thing you told us, Bobby, last night, this is John Kerr here again, Joe next to me, along with Norm here. We've got Bobby Worthington on, the head boys basketball coach at Zion Benton. One thing you told us last night, Bobby, was that even the game last night was not really a setback for you guys because it's just, it's just one game in a long stretch for you guys. You've been scoring a lot of points, beating some good teams. You put up 90 against an Evanston team that, and a lot of people figure is a 4A super sectional team. Will go back downstate. Did a nice defensive job on their top player. What have you been doing here over that stretch of 7 games and even offensively to allow you to put up 90, average about 75 during that stretch?
Well, there's a style of play that we have to have. I mean, obviously, and not giving away any tactics, we don't have a huge anchor in the middle. So we got to have a lot of touches. We got to have a lot of guys that can shoot the ball willingly, a lot of willing passers, and guys that can get by people and create shots. Once we get bought in and once we found out what our identity is, that's exactly what the guys have been doing. So, I mean, it's a credit to them. I mean, shots are falling for the most part. We really didn't shoot a high percentage. We didn't. I think you're breaking up.
Oh, are you there?
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We didn't shoot a great percentage last night, but I give that credit to the defense. But by and large, we've been shooting a really good percentage from the three-point line, a good percentage from the twos, and the kids have been playing well. So I'm happy about that.
You mentioned you don't have the anchor, so to speak, in the middle, that big 6'9" guy. But what you do have, and I'll tell you what, DeMonte Taylor, who's listed as a 6'6" guard, and he is lean and athletic. Man, I'll tell you what, that's a nice player for you guys. When he finishes at the rim, it looks like it's easy for him because he is so athletic and long, Bobby. And then, of course, Amar Aguilar, we always joke that, Joe Aguilar and Amar Aguilar are related. That's where Amar gets his good looks from me.
And Bobby, you haven't seen Joe play basketball, so that's where the comparison
I'm
ends.
going to share that with Amar also.
But those are a couple. I mean, you got Caleb Naylor is a nice player as well, but you've got some really good basketball players. And I wanted to know what you thought of because DeMonte Taylor is a senior. I know Amar is only a junior, but I see those guys playing, if they choose to do so, at the next level.
Yeah, no question. Both of them are being recruited highly right now. Both are great kids, got great family, great stock, and they work hard. And back for a DeMonte Taylor, who, he is a definite matchup nightmare. Because I can play him at the low block, but I can also play him at the one. Handles the ball really well and makes great decisions. So, I mean, I'm happy to have both of those guys, to be honest with you. And Amar, I mean, obviously, what a load. Thick-bodied, athletic, great shooter, good ball handler, and young. So, I'm very happy to have both of those guys.
Are they Division I players, Bobby?
No question at all. I mean, Amar's getting lots of looks right now, mid-major. Couple high major people are showing some interest. I mean, DeMonte's got offers from University of Green Bay already.
Okay.
Tulsa's really looking at DeMonte hard. Central Michigan's looking at DeMonte, so he's going to get some looks also. But if you think about him, his body style, I mean, that's a basketball body.
Yeah.
That you put some muscle on him up top. He's already super athletic. I mean, obviously, he's got some work to do, but if I were a coach, I would certainly love to work with him.
That's the voice of Bobby Worthington, head basketball coach of the Zion ZBs. Again, John, Joe, and Norm here on a Thursday. We're talking boys basketball and specifically the North Suburban Conference with Coach Worthington. And, Bobby, I want to ask you about just the overall level of play in the North Suburban Conference. I know your first year as head coach, was you still had Admiral Schofield there. Malik Yarbrough had just graduated, but I believe your first year, 2014, 2015, taking over for Coach Cloth, was the year of Stevenson basketball, right, with Jalen Brunson and that whole crew. You had a lot of Division I athletes who came in and out of the conference during that time. Robbie Kennard, you had Sean O'Brien, a Mundelein, Evan Boudreau, who's still playing at Purdue as a fifth-year senior. Now, 6 years into your tenure, has the level of elite talent dropped off a bit, and maybe just the overall roster talent on each team is a little bit better? How would you kind of compare where things are now to where they were even 5 or 6 years ago when he took over?
We went through a stretch where we had a lot of high major basketball players in the conference and at several different schools. Which makes for a very tough conference. The years with Stevenson, with Brunson, and the kid at Indiana right now, which is
Justin Smith.
Justin Smith. There's going to be a drop off, but I don't think it dropped off to where we don't have any Division I talent. I say maybe we have fewer high major talented players up here, but the conference has always been brutal. The coaches are always tough and thorough. And it's a tough conference to play basketball in. To be honest, trust me, I know. I've coached with Don Close for 19 years, and then I've been a head coach for 7 years now. And it's just been brutal every single time, every single year. We don't get noticed a lot, to be honest with you, up here, unless we have that super high major kid that everybody knows about. But right now, I think our conference is as tough as any conference. And as things matriculate into this state tournament, I'm sure other conferences are going to realize that when we have to play them.
And I think did we mention Lenzel Smith, who was a ZBs? Played at Ohio State. So that was kind of during those peak years, if you want to call it that, of the North Suburban, going back 5-6 years ago, right, Bob?
But even if you go back even further, into that Lenzel Smith, and then you got to think about Waukegan had Jeremy Richmond, and then you had, there was elite level McDonald All-American talent in Lake County, which is really, really awesome to say. And to see those kids compete at that high level. Then you got to go to Warren, and you had Brandon Paul. And then the other kid went to University of Toledo, the big kid.
Nathan Booth.
Nathan Booth was a load.
Right.
North Suburban basketball is and will always be elite level basketball in high school in the state of Illinois. I just believe that all the way through.
Well, and people, I think most people know this about you, Bob, but you're a Zion Benton grad. Bob, you and I have talked before. I went to Mundelein. I'm a class of 82 guy, but I remember you in high school as, Bobby Worthington, who's this skinny freshman kid from Zion Benton. So, I go way back. But then you played at Michigan State.
I appreciate that skinny comment, too. I didn't get that much.
But you remember those. Right? If my memory serves correctly, you were this skinny kid for Zion Benton playing varsity basketball as a freshman, right?
That was me. Going against one of your guys, Gary Churchill.
That's right.
Gary Churchill.
That's right.
Went to I forgot where he went to.
Did he go to Furman or Fordham? One of those.
Furman. He went to Furman.
Thank you.
Furman.
I should know that. I'm a Mundelein grad.
Tough basketball player. Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. So you really have an appreciation of this conference, and you've said this before in interviews where it's like the first time you guys played Stevenson this year. I covered that game. Stevenson got off to a great start on their home floor, and that was enough for them to beat you guys. But I remember you said afterward, like, typical North Suburban Conference battle. Love it. Can't wait till we play them again at the Hive. And that's coming up Saturday night. So here we go. Funny because both teams now coming off. I guess you could call it an unexpected loss for both teams because all due respect to Libertyville, but I thought you guys, especially the way you had been playing, would get that win last night. We thought Stevenson would beat Lake Forest. So both teams are going to be plenty motivated, I would think, Saturday night at your place.
Definitely, and both well scouted. And obviously I got a great deal of respect for Coach Ambrose over at Stevenson. Runs a great program. Kids are going to be ready to play. As Lake Forest's kids over with Phil Lascata, ready to play. And I mean, that's what probably makes us a great conference. Any night, it doesn't matter. Who knows what's going to happen? But the team that plays the best on that night will win the game. So, I can't wait till Saturday. I mean, I know our kids are ready to go. They're a little disappointed by dropping one last night, as they should be as competitors. But we'll be at practice today, getting ready to go for our big game Saturday against Stevenson.
And it's a 4:00 tip-off.
4:00 tip-off. It's to pack the gym where the girls play the second game. All levels will be playing kind of at one time. It's a neat little thing that we do on North Suburban.
Yeah, and that's going to be going on in another location. I know Lake Zurich is going to be at Lake Forest. They've got a 4:00 tip-off with the girls. The guys will be at 5:30, so a cool thing they've done in the conference. And to your point, Bobby, about, again, just think about what happened last night, right? Lake Forest knocking off Stevenson now. That's the second year in a row they beat them at Competition Gym in Lake Forest. And then Phil Scala defense holding the 33 points. I mean, you're going to win a lot of games. And again, this is the timing of your game, I think, couldn't be better in terms of, both teams kind of coming off some losses here, but still playing well. And not looking at that one game. And again, I know that was you and Amar talked about that last night, that, hey, we're already thinking about Stevenson. So our last couple minutes here with Bobby Worthington, the head basketball coach at Zion. Again, John, Joe, and Norm here on a Thursday, January the 30th. And Bobby, I know your job at Zion Benton, people forget you actually do have a day job. You're not a full-time basketball coach there. Is director of safety and attendance. Yeah. Correct. So, if you talk to athletic directors all over the county, they'll tell you, hey, it's very important when you hire, especially, I guess, one of the revenue sports, that maybe sound like an outdated term, but football and basketball coaches, right? It's very important that they are in the building. Like, that is a huge part of it. So some other sports, not always the case, but for your sport, it does matter. Why is that important for your particular job? I mean, your job as director of safety and attendance, how does that even complement your basketball job? I mean, being there every single day and being around the kids every single day, especially during the season, things come up, right? And that you have to deal with. I'm curious from that perspective, what you do every single day between 8 and 3 o'clock, how that really matters for what you do after 3 o'clock.
It's like my team shrinks after 3 o'clock. I consider my team being my entire district. I'm a district level administrator, so every student at Zion Benton is a teammate. And I try to get an intricate knowledge of every single student. I have a relationship with every single student. And it's just like team rules, but it's school rules. You want kids to just follow and just be cognizant of what they need to do to be successful. And it transfers perfectly, because that's the same thing you do as a coach. Mm-hmm. You want your kids to work hard. You want them to be cognizant of what they can do to go on and be a better athlete. So those things are kind of married for me, and they're not separate. It's easy to say separate, but the kids see me in the halls all the time. I put out fires here and there. You develop relationships. You get kids to understand what it is you want from them. Their parents understand what it is they want and what the kids need to be successful. And it just works. I've spent my entire life at Zion Benton High School. I don't want to go nowhere else. This is where I'm going to stay until I retire. They've been really good to me, and in turn, I try to do very good by the kids in the district, and it happens to be through basketball and through district level administrator. So it just works in that sense, and it's very important that your head coaches have those relationships outside of basketball with their student athletes.
Well, and we have coaches, and Joe and I talk to them every single day, that have different teaching jobs, right? Ones that might be a math teacher that is in a classroom all day long, right? And then maybe for 5 hours a day or 5 or 6 class sessions. And if they're not in class, they have to be tutoring during the day. Or you may have teachers that are dean of students that are roving around the hallways, right, doing other things. So it sounds to me from your perspective, not that you couldn't do your job well if you were teaching English, but coaching basketball and and specifically at Zion Benton High School, the job that you have there really complements the other one.
It really does, and it gives me, and what free time do you ever have at work? Yeah. But it gives me a chance to matriculate and be seen in areas that, sometimes kids won't see you at. I'm in the counselor's office at a particular time. I've got a meeting with a family at a particular time. So it gives a chance for kids to see you in a different light, and it works. It works.
And certainly from a basketball level, I mean, what better role model than you? I mean, you played Big Ten basketball. You know what it's like to compete at the highest level, at the collegiate level. And we were missing. We mentioned, Bobby, at the top of the show, you played at Michigan State under the great Judd Heathcote. Yes. I really should have John talk to you about Michigan State since John's the Michigan State alum here. But tell us a little bit about Judd, who passed away just a couple of years ago. He was 90 years old, had a great life, certainly. But you were telling us, I got some great Judd Heathcote stories. He was a funny guy. Tell us a little bit about playing under the great Judd Heathcote at Michigan State.
You know, when I was recruited there, I got recruited there from Herb Williams, who used to be head coach at Evanston Township High School, long time ago. Then he matriculated into college and into Michigan State. But I didn't know Judd so much, other than the 79 years when they won the NCAA tournament with Irvin and all those guys. So I knew that Judd. But when I got there, just to find out how extremely funny a human being he was, it was just incredible to me. Every practice was an adventure. Every teachable moment was a comedic, a 5-minute skit by him. And his impersonations of every other coach in the Big Ten were spot on and so funny.
Is that funny. Right?
Oh, Gene Katie. Gene Katie. I remember and him and Gene were actually really good buddies, right, Bobby?
Really good buddies, and that's why those stories were so good with him and Gene Katie.
Yeah,
and everybody so feared Bobby Knight in the Big Ten, but those that were in the Big Ten knew that the wolf in the den was Gene Katie, not Bobby Knight.
No, and those were days when, again, basketball coaches are still superstars, right? I mean, they still are the faces of their programs, especially at the elite level. And when you were there, of course, there was probably a young assistant named Tom Izzo, right, who was on the staff.
Tommy Izzo, yes.
Yeah, and so and I know now Tom is an extremely successful coach and done great things as a head coach, but he still sometimes can be a little bit of a divisive figure with people who don't know the program because all they do is see him yelling at his players all the time, right? And what people don't really understand that is Tom's way of coaching. That is his way of teaching. And there's a certain type of player that has to go to Michigan State.
Yes.
And Bobby, for you, do you, just having your time been there and knowing Michigan State, how much of your coaching style, we see you on the sideline, you're a fiery guy, you're not afraid to tell it like it is to your players. How much of it do you model that off of, coaching mentors you've had, or even watching a guy like Tom Izzo?
No question at all. I mean, and part of that is, as a player, I was a fiery guy, high motor guy, get up and down guy, So, your approach to athletics is kind of what you see and what you've done. And back to like Tom Izzo, I can remember him. In those days, like the assistants really ran the practice. And, for me to have a chance to learn under a Hall of Fame Judd Heathcote and then now a Hall of Fame Tom Izzo, those days were priceless. Not a lot of people get a chance to do that. So I'm very thankful for that. I still stay in contact with Michigan State, still stay in contact with Tom in the office over there. They send me a lot of different stuff. And our conversations, I can appreciate now where he was coming from when I was just a young kid trying to make it through, taking shortcuts instead of understanding the benefit in doing it the right way. So, all of those things forge who we are as adults, and then they forge who we are as we teach adults. And it could be our children, it could be our students, it could be our athletes. But all of those things happen for me, and they've helped me along the way. So I'm very happy to have that in my background, and to be able to give it to local kids that are just from Zion High School. So, I'm happy for it.
Hey, Bobby, one more for me before we let you go here, and we really appreciate your time here. Give us a favorite Judd Heathcote story or memory of yours with him.
It has to be, it's probably at Indiana. I think I was guarding Daryl Thomas, who passed away tragically. He was coaching at St. Joe, but Daryl Thomas, great guy. I'm guarding him, and Daryl is going through a minute. He's scoring. He's doing everything we got to gets at halftime. And then we go in the locker room, and Judd is reaming me out all the way to the locker room. And he's telling me that I am the best player Indiana has.
Oh, man.
You are going to be. He is reaming me, and it's funny, but it's not. And obviously, there needs to be some adjustments. But it would be stuff like that with him, where it'd be a very serious moment with a very comedic kind of.
You're the best player Indiana has, Bobby. Are you going to just let him drive right past you? Come on, you had a little bit of Judd. Yeah,
right. Great screen. He got right by you.
Yeah, he was a master of kind of sarcasm, right? That kind of passive aggressive sort of way of coaching in a way. But well, Bobby, hey, we really appreciate you coming on here and again talking about your current team this year and kind of going down memory lane and talking about a great coach in Judd Heathcote and also Tom Izzo. And we also looking forward to being up there on Saturday. I know Joe's going to be up there on Saturday.
I will not, but
you will not be up there.
Jeff Newton from
we will have somebody up there Saturday for the big game against Stevenson. Still a lot of basketball to be played here. Still a lot to be determined in the North Suburban. We're still a few weeks away from seedings coming out from the sectional, so a lot to be determined. But thanks for coming on today, and best of luck to your ZBs for the rest of the season.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I do, and we will put our best foot forward Saturday. I guarantee it.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's Bobby Worthington of Zion Benton. The Beehive will be buzzing, Joe.
Yes.
Saturday.
Yes,
well up there
played. When
the ZBs take on the Patriots. That's going to do it for our first half hour. We're going to take our first break here on the John and Joe Show along with Norm. When we come back, a little more conversation from the game last night. I want to play some Will Moore tape.
Awesome.
From the game last night. Great game by the Libertyville Ford and more hoops conversation here on Lake County Sports Talk for Thursday, January 30th. We'll be right back with, we go into the break with a little Cure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know this one.
Just Like Heaven. We'll be right back.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
Having trouble moving the ball to finish your divorce or paternity matter? Child support or maintenance payments causing trouble with your salary cap? Sue Kamen is an experienced family law attorney who can coach you through mediation or fire a pass into the end zone at trial. To make an appointment in Antioch, Huntley, or Lake Zurich with Susan E. Kamen and Associates, their number is 847-847-7354.
WRLR sports programming is made possible in part through the support of Jersey Mike's in Round Lake Beach. Jersey Mike's serves authentic Northeastern-style sub-sandwiches that are fresh sliced and fresh grilled. Their menu offers items for students and teachers like the Giant Sub. Complete menu details available now at jerseymikes.com. If your sports team or organization is looking to raise funds, Jersey Mike's in Round Lake Beach can tell you how. They're located at 536 East Rollins Road, and their number is 224-757-5391.
Today's sports broadcast is made possible by O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC. Proud to sponsor another season of Lake County High School sports broadcasts on WRLR 98.3 FM. Helping home buyers, sellers, and others with real estate transactions. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC can be reached at 847-675-4790.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
We are back here. John and Joe Show along with Norm on a Thursday here, January 30th, recording this live with our WRLR Round Lake Beach studios here. Again, of course, we're the Round Lake Beach studios that would be in Round Lake Beach. Looking forward to our conversation here. We just had a conversation with Bobby Worthington of Zion Benton. We're going to get into some more basketball conversation here in the second half of our segment. As Joe and I were courtside there in Libertyville last night, we've had the benefit really for the last couple of games, at least that I've been to there in Libertyville. I think you might have been there maybe even between the girls' game a couple weeks ago and last night. Just tremendous basketball. We had the great finish of Margaret Booker a couple of weeks ago when Libertyville knocked off the Lake Forest girls team. And last night, just quality basketball, up and down. You saw a Libertyville team that had been struggling a little bit, Joe, going into that game last night.
Yeah, they had coming off that loss to Lake Forest, which I didn't see coming. They lost back-to-back to Stevenson and Mundelein. And then last night, the story, first of all, like you said, John, and what an entertaining game for 4 quarters. It was up-tempo, a lot of great basketball from both sides. Certainly for Libertyville most of the night. And then the player of the game, what a game for Will Moore, a career-high 27 points. I think his high was 18. And then he had been out with an injury. He rolled his ankle. It was against Stevenson. And then he missed the next 3 games, including the Mundelein game, when they had really no one to guard Scotty Abube, no one of height. Will's a big kid, 6'5". He's a kid who started last year as a junior, but was recovering from a shoulder injury that he suffered during football. So I think Brian Zurkowski never thought they got the full Will Moore effect. Last year, they didn't see his potential. And then this year, he was playing pretty good basketball, and then he gets hurt. And then what a game he had last night. Not only 27 points, but an efficient 27 points. I think it was 14 of 16 or 12 of 16 shooting. I think 12 of 16 shooting, including one three-pointer, which I think it was at the end of the third quarter. And we kind of joked with him afterward, because we thought it looked good that he airballed it. But he was in such the zone. I mean, he was... That's a game for him. Who knows? Maybe he scores 28 the next time out. But that was just wow, he was just playing out of his mind. But Brian Zurkowski, that said, afterwards said that's what he can do. That wasn't a surprise to us because we knew he had that in him. We just hadn't seen it yet, but it really all came together for him. And talk about doing it in a game that really mattered, because Libertyville, stumbling here. They had 4 losses in the NSC. You needed a win, and then coming off that loss to Lake Forest, you're thinking, boy, are they really going to be able to keep up with one of the hottest teams around in Zion Benton? And they certainly did.
Yeah, Coach Zurkowski, one of our favorite guys, and of course that Z. Maybe stands for zipper now. He was so excited.
You brought this up.
At the game last night that he had a little bit of a pants situation. So maybe that Z stands for zip here. But an unbelievable game for the Wildcats, as we said, and we'll see if this can continue because it wasn't just Will Moore. You had Patrick Graham step up, have a nice game for them. You said just Jackson Watson shooting those 3 balls, playing really good defense, and Blake Ellingson, who just is steady. You look up, he's got 14 points, gives him a nice presence too. But the story last night was Will Moore. And let's hear from Will. You and I had a chance to talk to him after the game about kind of him coming back from this injury, and somebody said came back from a shoulder injury, and really kind of worked very hard to get back with the ankle in terms of therapy. Missed a couple of games, went out I think in the Mundelein game, and then
the Stevenson game. Then he missed 3.
Game.
Tried to play against Lake Forest,
right? Which was
he just
couldn't go. So this was the first time he was able to play full minutes, and certainly it made a big impact for the Wildcats last night. Here is Libertyville's senior forward Will Moore.
Well, how's your ankle?
Good, very good. It's 100% now. I just Lake Forest the last game. I wasn't feeling too good. So I decided. My coaches and I just kind of sat that one out, and then I've been the weekend icing it, getting back, doing my exercises, and it feels great. It's feeling great.
You had 27. Is that a career high?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Have you had a 20-point game?
Sophomore year in softball basketball, yeah.
Okay, but not first varsity 20-point game.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You were insane here. You were hitting everything. And then when you hit the 3-pointer and you airballed it, right? I don't think anyone in the gym could blame you because when you're that hot.
I was tired. I gotta get in shape.
Right.
It looked good though from here. Yeah,
it was off the mark a little bit. But were you just in one of those? Shooters call it a zone, but you're a big guy and you're inside. You're spinning. How do you explain that?
I was feeling the time my teammates were getting me the ball. I took advantage of it. I made my moves. And all I need is, in the beginning of the season, I don't think I was as much confident as I am now.
Yeah.
So he gives me the green light. He's got so much confidence in me. And my confidence has just skyrocketed. Ankle definitely set me back a little bit, but it felt great to be.
Which one was it?
Which one was it?
Left one. Okay. And you can never know going into a game maybe that you're going to play like this, but in warm-ups, were you feeling good? Did you get a sense you could play like this?
Okay. Throughout the whole day, I was working with my ankle. I went to the trainer today, just kind of did some stretches, like every game. I don't know, I was just feeling it tonight.
Yeah, when you took a Mara baseline on that one play, Joe and I were looking at each other, that's not too many guys do that.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just one of those nights.
Right. Big third quarter for you guys. You scored 21-9.
Sure, yeah.
What was going on? I know you guys had switched your defense, right, to a zone?
Pardon? We went to a 3-2 zone.
So it's 3-2 zone. Okay.
Yeah. No, Z at halftime he was just like, screw it, we're gonna go zone because we gave up 36 points in the first half. Give credit to them. They really can get to the rim. They're quick. Yeah. They got a lot of guys who can score. In the first half, we struggled with that. So, I don't know. We decided to go 3-2 zone and helped out in the third quarter.
That Taylor kid's got like a 15-foot wingspan, doesn't he? He's insane.
I think on one layup, he took his first step from like half court. Right?
Yeah.
What does this mean now? This is just one game, right? But it looks, you're at the time of the year, everybody needs to be healthy.
Yeah, of course.
And you get a lot of pieces on this team. You got Graham. I think Jackson shot the ball well. We know about Blake. Can this team make a run here?
When we're playing basketball like you saw tonight, maybe with a little bit better defense, I think we can beat anyone. At the beginning of the season, we competed with those teams. We had a big win in St. Fire at the beginning of the season. And honestly, it comes down to our defense. I think down the road in the playoffs, we're a scary team. We can match up well with anyone, and I think we're going to be just fine. I think we'll do well.
That's Will Moore, Libertyville senior forward, who, Coach Zurkowski has talked all year long what a difference maker this guy can be. Mm-hmm. And we've seen flashes of it with this team, again, for health reasons. And I think this team just also finding its own sort of offensive identity, and being able to shoot the three, because that certainly softens things up defensively, gives them an opportunity to feed the ball in the post. But here's the thing about Moore, which we saw last night. This is not somebody who's just going to take the ball high and be able to be a traditional post player. He's a guy who can stretch the defense. Mm-hmm. He can take the ball on the bounce, somebody who has a lot of range, somebody who crashes the boards, and again, just gives him that physical inside presence, I think, necessary if this team is going to make a run here at the end of the season. They're not going to win the North Suburban Conference. It's going to be Stevenson or Mundelein. I think we know that now. I know mathematically there's an opportunity. I know certainly what happens on Saturday at Zion could make a big difference. But can this Libertyville team, depending on what seed they get, is a team that could compete for a regional championship? I think Moore is somebody you could say maybe they can. We'll see how things shake down the rest of the season.
Yeah, if they can keep getting that performance from Will Moore, not that he has to score 27 points every night, but that's a huge factor for them because he is a nice size, a legit 6'5", and he's a better athlete than I realized. I've seen them play certainly enough the last couple of years here, but we're seeing if this kid is completely healed from that shoulder, that ankle now that he tweaked a couple of weeks back now, and he can give him that kind of production. Again, he really made some nice moves, John. He had a couple jumpers, but even inside, baseline moves, spinning moves in the lane, and a real nice touch. I couldn't have been more impressed. Then you throw in, you got a legit, stretch the defense shooter in Jackson Watson. Blake Ellingson, it just continues to show that. I know he's a good basketball player, but he shows that football toughness and take charge attitude. I'm really seeing a kid who's really getting more confident and realizing I can beat most of the guys that are playing me one-on-one. Maybe not so much that he's as skilled as some other guards in the conference, but he is playing with a lot of confidence right now, Blake Ellingson. So if they can continue to get that from him, and Will Moore gives you even half of what he did last night. Yeah, as Bob Worthington said, this North Suburban Conference, you got a lot of teams. I know sometimes it becomes cliche about anyone can beat anyone on any given night, that kind of thing. But it's true. Look at Lake Forest. So it's funny. We were talking, John, a couple of weeks back when we had Matt Badgley of Mundelein on the show about how Lake Forest had kind of inexplicably received votes in the AP poll, and then we realized that was probably just a typo. It should have been Lake Park receiving those votes in 4A, but it was Lake Forest for whatever reason. They got more votes that week than Stevenson, which had a highly superior one-loss record. Then all of a sudden, what has Lake Forest done? They've beaten Libertyville, and they've beaten Stevenson last night. So it's funny how things shake out sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, and Chase Bonder is a sophomore that is one of the better underclassmen as well in the county. So somebody who just gives them a lot of versatility for that Libertyville team. Yeah,
and another 6'5" guy who can shoot the three.
Right, another wing player who can step out, can shoot, and could also
rebound.
Kind of crash the boards and play defense as well. And yeah, Lake Forest, I have not seen them play live yet this year. I still have not. I caught a little bit of the end of the Lakes game that they played a couple weeks ago, but that game was already decided. So I'm really hoping to get out sometime the next couple weeks and see them live. But they're doing what Lake Forest does, which is playing really, really good defense. Coach Phil Lascala, he knows how to coach defense. And they're getting a lot of contribution from Jack Malloy, who is somebody who was a key contributor a year ago as a sophomore, and is also one of these impact juniors. Got a lot done in the offseason. You see these guys that get better in the spring and summer, filled into his body a little more physical player than he was. But somebody who always had the skill set It's just a matter of doing it consistently. And we know about the freshman Asa Thomas, who's an impact player as well. There's also been another younger player named Cade Nowick, who is actually a three-sport athlete. He's a varsity football player, was called up for the postseason, played varsity baseball for them as a freshman. He's brought some toughness to them and some ball handling skills as well. So, look, they're not going to score 70 points. If they get into a shootout with Zion like last night, I don't think Lake Forest has the offensive ability to do that. But they can win a 40-something, 30-something dirty type of game. That's the way that Phyllis Gal likes to play.
Yeah, and I haven't seen Lake Forest play yet this season. I'm really curious to see this kid. Asa's how you pronounce it, right?
Correct.
A-S-A Thomas, the freshman. Yeah, again, you don't see too many freshmen. We were seeing more and more, I think, the last few years. I don't know if it's just a trend.
Yeah, more on the girls' side.
And guys, because, again, there's a lot of difference in the body type of a 14-year-old boy as opposed to an 18-year-old boy. I mean, so we don't see many freshmen boys playing varsity basketball. Again, I remember a few years ago we had none. And now we're seeing more and more. And you saw Enright and Nabube playing as freshmen, starting and so forth. But how much do you know about Asa Thomas, John? What kind of player is he? I couldn't tell. Is he 6'2", 6'6"? What do you know about him?
Yeah, kind of about 6'4".
Okay.
Kid. I mean, might be 6'5", but probably closer to 6'4". I saw him a little bit in the summertime.
Okay.
Just somebody who, again, we've seen there's a lot of these types of players now where, 6'4", 6'5", guys who, with their back to the basket, can step out and knock down mid-range jump shots.
Is he kind of a three?
But can also shoot. Yeah, to me, currently now, in the way, of course, nowadays you don't really have a lot of power fours now anyway.
Right.
You don't have traditional fives or fours. A lot of guys are threes or twos. To me, he's more of a three, can play the two in terms of his shooting ability. But could could develop more into a four into his body type as he grows into it. But he's somebody just a natural scorer and somebody who plays the game. Again, is involved in all the stuff in the summertime. We'll play more high level AAU. And as you know, while we do promote and encourage three-sport athletes, you have to be doing something within that sport in the off season. I think to be able to contribute on the varsity level, especially if you're a freshman or a sophomore at that age group, to be able to contribute. So
I'm trying to think of freshman boys playing varsity basketball. Kamari Wilson, who's now a junior at Carmel, but he was a day one starter basically. Grant has a kid, Chad Keesgan, who's a real good shooter. He's going to be a nice player in the NLCC here. He's already had some really big games for Grant, even though they're not playing well. Chris Martin is a kid who comes off the bench from Mundelein as a freshman. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anybody who's playing.
No, that's about.
Ball, right?
Currently now.
Somebody.
Yeah, no, and we could certainly going back to Mundelein a couple of years ago with Enright and Abube and Bicus when they brought up all those guys now, and they're certainly seeing the
Ryan Connolly was
and they're seeing all those benefits now. Even a Trey Baker who played Stevenson as a freshman, right? So you're seeing now, the fruits of that, of getting that experience when they are younger players. You're listening to the John and Joe Show here on a Thursday. We're talking boys basketball here. We had Bobby Worthington of Zion a little bit earlier on the show talking about the ZBs and a loss to Libertyville last night, but still, this is a team that's been playing extremely well, averaging 75 points their last 7 games. Big win against Stevenson at the Beehive on Saturday, February the 1st. Let's switch gears here a little bit, talk a little bit of NLCC boys here, Joe. The WRLR game of the week will be, is this Friday or Norm? I don't see
Friday
that.
afternoon.
It's Friday night, right?
Friday night. Yeah.
Friday night. Antioch at Wakanda. Rusty Don and Norm will be on the call for that one.
Can't wait.
And that'll be and a Wakanda team, Joe, that just come off a loss to Round Lake, and you were up there earlier in the week.
Yeah, that was there Tuesday night for that game. That was an entertaining game. Round Lake scored 31 points in the opening quarter. That's hard to do. You only have 8 minutes, right, in a quarter in high school basketball. It's hard to score 31. Round Lake couldn't keep up that pace. I mean, they weren't going to score 124 points. They did win the game, so a tough loss for Wakanda, which was started 3-0 in this conference, and now they're sitting at 3-2. It's going to go down to the final week. There's no one who's going to run away with this in the conference. But congrats, by the way. We talked a lot last week with Scott Lichtschwager about Donovan Carter, their senior guard, who headed into that Friday game, last week needing 4 points to get the school record. He got it, so he's over 1,300 career points. He's got another 100 in him, this season. The kid's averaging 20 a game. He had his first dunk in his career, his 3-year varsity career, in that Round Lake game. Scott Lichtschwager saying that he's seen Donovan dunk in practice, but he had never seen him dunk in a game. So that was cool. Here's a kid with, again, 1,300 career points, not one on a dunk, but he got one the other night against Round Lake. Round Lake needed that. Round Lake got off to this great start. Here's a program that just a couple of years back, 3 years back, coming off a winless season. They're up to 14 wins now. They've got some really good athletes there in Devontae McNeil and Hakeem Williams, really fun guys who could get after it offensively, defensively, block shots, get steals. But that conference, again, is it loaded with talent? I wouldn't say necessarily yes. But it's going to be fun. And I'll tell you, the team that's really playing well is Grays Lake Central. They've been playing well for really all of January. They have won 6 in a row. They've got Grant Friday night at home. Grays Lake Central is really, this is a team that started 0-5. Brian Centella, great player there at Grays Lake Central back in the day. First-year head coach there after he'd been an assistant under Costa Kudius at Grays Lake Central. So Grays Lake Central, man, I tell you what, teams need to start winning because they don't look like they're slowing down. They're now 5-1 in sole possession of the conference lead. So good for Grays Lake Central.
And from a scheduling perspective, Joe, how do things work out for Grays Lake here the rest of the way? I mean, in terms of that one-game lead, is it something you expect them to preserve that lead, or you think? We talked about how wide open this conference is with Wakanda and Round Lake, and North Chicago still hanging around there 3-3. I can't imagine that Grays Lake Central can say, "Hey, we've locked this thing down." They've got to continue to play well,
exactly.
and upsets will, or I wouldn't even necessarily call it an upset if Grays Lake Central got beaten unless they lost to Grays Lake North. Maybe that would be an upset.
Right, that could be just being a rivalry, throwing out the records thing. That is true, and it's not like one team is far superior than the other team this season. So, but you look at Grays Lake Central's next 3 games in conference: Grant Friday night, at Grays Lake North, and then Lakes. Those are 3 games they should win. They have better records than those 3 teams, but we've seen too much of, you better bring it every night, and if you're not hitting or you're overconfident, that stuff becomes cliche, but there's a reason it's cliche. It's because it's true. And, they don't, Grays Lake Central, it's not like they've got, Division I players. And it's a lot of these teams. I think Scott Lichtschwager described it last week. It's just a bunch of hard-working, strong work ethic teams, that'll play a lot of man, in your face and get after it. And they're competitive basketball games. But right now, again, someone's got to cool off Grays Lake Central because they are playing really good basketball. And it really started at the Jacobs tournament where they won a couple of games. They won 3 games out there, actually. And they've just continued that fine play.
Well, you mentioned Donovan Carter, which I was surprised to hear, not having seen him live, but certainly, seeing clips of him and realizing, but, his body type is somebody who is certainly who plays more away from the basket. But still, you would think in the span of a varsity career he would have a dunk. Well, we saw that many from DeMonte Taylor last night, like in the first half, right?
Yes,
and Amar Aguilard as well. Those guys were flying up and down the court. Different style of play in terms
and these
of
are
how
big
Zion
boy
gets
dunks.
up on it. No doubt.
Yeah, these Zion guys. DeMonte Taylor. I didn't realize he had an offer from Green Bay. I think Bobby Worthington said. You can see it because he does. Both he and Amar, even though Amar's only a junior, they look already like
launching above the rim, coming down. Yes,
body. Yeah, those are like big boy dunks they had last night at Libertyville.
Seeing them last week on our game of the week at Waukegan.
Right.
6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'8", with Italiano coming off the bench.
Oh, right. That's
it was so great. So great story. So Devontae is on the court and Zion gets their rebound. Some guy down low, I forget who it was, whipped the ball, cross court, the length of the court to the opposite side of the basketball court. And I think it's Jajon Parker caught the pass. Now, he's about 10 feet from the rim. Is he going to go for a shot because he's wide open? They threw the ball over the defense. No. He did a bounce pass off the backboard. Devontae Taylor took off from the free throw line. This was
street
ESPN,
ball stuff,
guys.
man. This is street ball stuff.
I was going to bring it up a little bit earlier, but I after the loss, I didn't want to say something about some gameplay. But man, that was a highlight reel to be seen again and again. Literally a bounce pass off the backboard to the left side of the rim and just slammed home.
Yeah, you're talking
Waukegan, man. That's
Zions. Well, and of course, and we're not going to get too much into this. This is more of a news story. But some of the incidents that happened after that game, right? I mean, there was between the Zion and Waukegan game this past weekend. I know that Marner says there were no players that were involved in that incident. These are more spectators who kind of started this thing. But I know this has been a big news story in Lake County this week with administrators and principals meeting and teachers to figure out, hey, crowd control and trying to avoid these types of incidents where police had to be called in and just it took a shine away from what is always a great rivalry game. Waukegan struggling this year, we know, in terms of the record. I'll actually be up there and see him play Mundelein on Saturday. Okay. Chance to see him play. But that was, again, our understanding of everything I've read this week is there were no players involved, and these were all spectators who really started that incident.
And, John, they got it out of the gym real fast, which I thought they handled very well.
Yeah, you were there, Norm, right? So you saw that.
It really, it didn't come down really to the court. It started up in the stands, and security was able to get him pushed out, and there was officers at the scene already. So they took care of it. Let's get on with some more b-ball.
Yeah, no doubt. It's good that the administrators are discussing this, and because these types of incidents, they cannot be tolerated annoymore with the school districts. You can't say, "Oh, it's just a rivalry game. Kids are going to be kids." Right. These things are.
There's a line.
These things can escalate. They can escalate, and from our perspective, and as Norm said, he was there. No players were involved. This is not like there was an incident like you saw in the Kansas State game in basketball where somebody goes up for a play and somebody's standing over a guy doing like a Muhammad Ali pose, or Sonny Liston pose over a player.
Ali Liston and then grabbing a chair.
No, there's none of that stuff, and that player was rightfully suspended. So a couple minutes here left here in our show on a Thursday here again, January 30th, recording this at our Round Lake Beach studios, 98.3 WRLR. Quickly to girls, Joe. Maybe we'll have some more girls hoops conversation next week because, believe it or not, I mean, the brackets and the seedings are going to be out. I think a week from today, which would be February the 6th, the seedings will come out. The brackets will come out, I think, on February the 7th. Girls hoops, it looks like it is Libertyville. They continue to roll. I was out there for the end of their Stevenson game on Tuesday night. That team is now, I don't know if it's 14 or 15 in a row right now. They've all but wrapped up, at least mathematically, the North Suburban Conference race, likely a number one seed.
Well, Lake Zurich, even though they lost Ella Gilbertson, their great senior player, to a high ankle sprain, she could miss the rest of the regular season.
2 losses, right?
They're 7-2, right. And I'll tell you what, I mean, they're showing they had a nice win over Zion the other night. How about Elena Sukup, our Daily Hero Player of the Week, after scoring 36 points against Waukegan? And Chris Bennett telling me, though, I know it's Waukegan. They're, not one of the best teams in the NSC this year, but that's their first real victory without Ella Gilbertson, who's been a 4-year varsity player. You take out your star player, and it's like everyone's got kind of different roles now, right? Everyone's got to step up their game a little bit. Elena Sukup certainly did. 36 points. She's a nice player. I mean, she is an all-area. I mean, she's going to be an all-area player for us this year as a sophomore. And Chris Bennett loved her from day one last year. I remember him raving about how good this kid's going to be. And she's just upped her game another level this season as only a sophomore. But again, you can't count them out. I mean, they're 7-2. So as well as Libertyville has been playing, and I mean, no team's been better. I mean, Libertyville, John, has not lost since December 10th. We've talked a lot about them. They got Emily Fisher back, and you were telling me, I mean, how good she was the other night. She had 15 points. It beat a Stevenson team that I think had won 8 in a row. I thought, well, that's going to be a good game, and Libertyville beats them by 13 points here. How good was Emily Fisher? I mean, this again, we've talked a lot about her already, but we're already seeing it as only a freshman. But she's already you're seeing a lot of that, everything she brings, all that package. You're telling me you saw it the other night there.
Yeah, there's a debate always in the sport of baseball or other sports whether you should have an MVP or a best player. Mm-hmm. Emily Fisher is the most valuable player in the conference. I will make an argument for that. Now, you can debate that or not. Is she the best player? But look at what this Libertyville team has been able to accomplish with her in the lineup. And against Stevenson, having her play outside the basket more and seeing her play more on the wing. I mean, well, actually, more at the elbow than the wing. Still a post player, but her athleticism, her footwork, a great soccer player. You can see that when she plays basketball. Her ability to block shots, protect the rim, rebound, and score. And you throw in all of those shooters that they have. You throw in Lauren Huber, who continues to play great defense, crash the boards. Again, you're right. Lake Zurich might be only a game behind there, but they have here's their schedule the rest of the season. Lake Zurich, they're at Lake Forest Saturday, at Stevenson, at Libertyville. Actually, this is Max. They can't have all these road games, can they? Whether these are home or not.
Remember last year they did.
Maybe they do. Yeah, at Stevenson, reversed. At Libertyville, at Palatine, at Zion, home against Warren. So. I mean, can they somehow go from being one game down to one game ahead of Libertyville over this last stretch? That's especially without Gilbertson.
Big task.
That's going to be tough.
No question about it. By the way, Libertyville 13-0 with Emily Fisher in the lineup. Now again, she's surrounded by great players.
MVP.
I mean, Bookert, Hubert, Crow, Free, Morrissey. It's not like she's on a bad team here. But she talk about a great piece for them at the right time.
Yeah, next week we'll talk more girls again with the seedings and brackets coming back. So don't forget, Friday night broadcast, WRLR, Antioch and Wakanda, Rusty, Don, and Norm on the call. That'll do it for this week. I want to thank our guest, Bobby Worthington of Zion. Tremendous stuff from Coach Worthington. And also thank you for indulging us on some Michigan State 80s, 90s conversation. Appreciate that, Joe.
A whole hour on you and Bob just talking Michigan State stuff.
Go green, Bobby. We'll be back next week with another episode of Lake County Sports Talk. For Joe, I'm John. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
WRLR is community radio.
I feel much more informed with what's happening today.
When we say community, we really mean it.
It's not like corporate, and it's just a good station,
We don't belong to some large corporation that makes a profit from this station.
Because I like the diversity.
And listeners won't be forced to listen to large blocks of advertising. Operations at community radio stations are made possible through grants and underwriting from companies within this area of operation. And donations, funds, and equipment, services, and time from area residents who volunteer their time to get involved.
It's as if it's my next door neighbor talking to me, only he's on the radio instead of next door to me.
Real people just like you.
I like them. They tell it like it is.
Local focus, local news, local music, of the local people, and by the local people.
It's different than the rest of the stuff I hear.
I love the show. I listen every day.
WRLR.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR.